President Clinton makes his case for the crime bill at a church outside Washington. And heavy rains turned Woodstock into Mudstock. This is the CBS Evening News. Edie Magnus reporting. Good evening, everyone. President Clinton kept the pressure up today in the battle to salvage his crime bill. The legislation suffered a stunning defeat last week when the Democratic House leadership lost a procedural vote to bring it to the floor. Bill Plant reports from the White House on the president's latest effort to plead his case.
The president took the fight for his crime bill to an African-American church in the Washington suburbs, an apparent attempt to turn around members of the Congressional Black Caucus who voted against the bill. It was, said Mr. Clinton, a matter of saving the lives of children.
And in a political moment, the Congress walked away from that last week.
The president asked for prayers and for pressure on members of Congress, suggesting that God was on the side of the crime bill.
And I hope somehow we will all find the wisdom and the judgment to come back and do the will of God in our ministries, which is to make you as safe as we possibly can.
On the more down-to-earth politics of the matter, Mr. Clinton's chief of staff repeated his boss's message to Congress. No major compromises as they try to pass the bill again this week.
The president's made very clear to them that when it comes to the bottom line, we want the key elements part of this bill. 100,000 cops, ban on assault weapons, we want the prevention money, and we want 3 strikes and you're out.
But the assault weapons ban caused dozens of Democrats to desert the crime bill under pressure from their constituents and from the National Rifle Association. Republicans suggest the bill's chances would be greatly improved if the weapons ban weren't in it.
I want to bring it back out to the House floor and to the Senate floor and allow it to be debated on its own terms, rather than have it buried inside a multi-billion-dollar crime bill.
Democrats say that debating the assault weapons ban separately is just another way to kill it by Senate filibuster if necessary. White House officials have let it be known that they'd be willing to agree to some minor modifications, but nothing major. And that assures another fierce partisan battle later this week, with the president's prestige squarely on the line. Edie?
Bill, what does the administration believe can turn this around?
Well, they're counting on members of Congress to get the message from the voters at home this weekend in their districts. White House officials are counting on pressure from the middle-class Republican voters out there, and Democrats too, who support gun control, the same folks who got the Brady bill through. Also on pressure from African Americans who could see the crime prevention money at work in their own districts.
All right, Bill Plant at the White House, thanks. Another problem for President Clinton, a flurry of reports that Deputy Treasury Secretary Roger Altman is on his way out. Altman has been accused of misleading Congress on the Whitewater affair. White House Chief of Staff Leon Panetta discussed Altman's future this morning on the CBS News broadcast, Face the Nation.
I think the real question is, can he reestablish, in the words of Lloyd Cutler, our consul, can he reestablish the confidence of the Senate in his job? I've talked to Secretary Benson. He's talking with both Roger Altman, Gene Hansen, as well as the chairman and members of that committee to determine whether or not that is the case. No decisions have been made right now.
But in other words, it is being, these people are all talking about whether it'd be best to stay or...
It's been discussed, and the fundamental question is whether he can reestablish his confidence.
Today's New York Times quotes administration sources as saying Altman will resign in a week to 10 days. Amid troubles over Whitewater and the impasse on both the crime bill and health reform, it's been a bad week, to say the least, for President Clinton. And here to talk about all this is our CBS News political consultant, Joe Klein. Thanks for being with us. One has the sense that this is a crucial, if not cataclysmic, moment in the Clinton presidency.
Well, the president kind of thrives on cataclysm. He sees himself as the great Houdini. You know, you wrap him in chains, throw him in a box, throw the box in the river, and he'll figure out some way to escape. He's the comeback kid. But he's in a pretty tight box at this point, and I think that people around him in the White House and the president himself think that he's going to have to change his style if he gets out of it. He's going to have to be less reckless and a little bit more conservative, perhaps.
There are 2 major pieces of legislation in play here. Let's talk first about the crime package. What are the prospects that it will be passed?
Well, this is an election year, and you got to figure that nobody, Democrats or Republicans, want to go home without a $30 billion crime bill, and they'll figure out some way to do it. It's going to take 5 or 6 votes changed. You got to figure the president will be able to pull that one out this week.
And what about health care reform?
Well, that's more of a problem. I spent a lot of time in the Senate this week watching those guys work, and the chances for universal coverage are pretty much dead. That means the president has to make a big decision. Does he go for half a loaf, try and negotiate a better plan than you have now, or does he just cut bait and let it rest until next year?
He's not going to get universal coverage. Might he get 95%?
Well, that's going to be tough too. This is, it's an election year, and I think that the people who are facing election want to have something to go home with, and the president has 2 years to recover, though.
If one or both of these measures fail, is the Clinton presidency doomed?
Well, 2 years is a long time in politics. The president has a lot of time to recover. But if I'm a Democrat or a Republican in a tough district running this November, I want to have something to go home with.
All right, Joe Klein, thanks. Heavy rains and thunderstorms have turned Woodstock 94 into, in the words of one fleeing concert goer, one giant pig pen. The weekend festival wraps up tonight, but thousands of drenched fans have been evacuating the area throughout the day today because of weather. More now from Giselle Fernandez.
Oh, when the sun refused to shine.
Sunday at Woodstock opened with the soulful sounds of gospel to try and soothe the rain-drenched masses. Today, Woodstock 94 turned into Mudstock, walking, wading, falling through the slush.
Slide, man, slide.
Earth-caked fans either reveled in the guck or it drove them out by the thousands.
Just had enough. I just wasn't sure I was going to survive if I stayed another night.
But last night, the rain and mud didn't stop the madness. Heavy metal blasted into the wee hours of the morning, rocking the crowd into a frenzy.
The music is awesome.
Even for the rock stars on stage, there was nothing like it.
It's just magic, right? The whole audience, the whole crowd's glowing.
But amid the magic, there was also mayhem. Fans crushed by packed crowds and hundreds of drug overdoses had paramedics busy throughout the night.
Fractured ankles, fractured legs, back injuries, neck injuries, overdoses, tripping.
But today, die-hard fans set on being a part of music history stuck it out to cheer on the last day's eclectic mix of music.
This was the ultimate test of the younger generation on the older.
For promoters who stand to make a tidy profit from big ticket sales and big TV and record deals, Woodstock 94 was a big hit. But it may be hard now as the concert wraps up for anyone to draw any profound comparisons between the legend of '69 and now. For most, this was a lot of wet dirt and a good time.
I don't think it's any kind of religious experience like the other one was.
The bands will play on till midnight. Then it could take up to 20 hours for everyone to get out. Woodstock 94 may not have revived the legend of old, but fans will surely leave with memories of music, mud, sweat, and tears. Giselle Fernandez, CBS News, Saugerties, New York.
Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, no sign of progress in the baseball strike. And young newspaper deliverers, an old tradition that's fading fast.
You've never seen or felt anything like it. Pond's self-foaming facial cleanser for cleaner, younger-looking skin from the Pond's Institute.
I have a fresh solution for denture odor. Minty Double Action Polident. It controls denture odor and cleans tough stains. Minty Double Action Polident. And in between soaks, wipe your dentures clean and minty fresh with Polident wipes.
If you wanted breakfast for a quarter, what could you get?
This day and age, not much.
Gumball, I guess.
You're a nut. Get away from me.
No, wait. Kellogg's Corn Flakes and milk is less than 25 cents a serving.
This whole bowl of cereal? 25 cents? Wow.
Unbelievable.
Just 25 cents a bowl. Pretty good, huh?
The real thing that you're missing, though, no fat.
It's amazing to have something for 25 cents that I like.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Just part of the value in having breakfast with Kellogg's.
How much does this guy eat?
We'd like to show you our new Achieva Special Edition. Well, for starters, it's got an airbag, four-wheel anti-lock brakes, air conditioning, automatic transmission, AM/FM stereo, power door locks. Sure, but that's where the really special part comes in. It's your money.
When firefighters arrived at a burning house in Carbondale, Illinois, early this morning, they made a terrible discovery. The bodies of 8 small children, victims of the fire. Scott Pelley has the story.
9 children were alone in their Carbondale, Illinois home when the fire erupted early this morning. The oldest, an 8-year-old girl, escaped, but 8 others, ranging in age from 5 months to 7 years, were trapped.
The residence is rented to Camilla Folks, who is the mother of 3 of the victims. It is our understanding at this time that the parents of the other victims believe Ms. Folks would be watching the children during their overnight visit at the residence.
Fire officials in this community south of St. Louis, Missouri, say the blaze was confined to 1 bedroom. Some of the children apparently tried to escape through a back window.
We're doing an autopsy on 1 of the children today. We're not going to autopsy the other 7. It's obvious that their cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning.
All of the children were related. Police have not decided whether to file charges against the woman who left them home alone.
The best thing I can say is stay home, take care of your kids, you know, when they're small like that.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Scott Pelley, CBS News, Dallas.
The Major League ballparks echoed today with the deafening sounds of silence. There's no end in sight to the baseball strike, but as David Culhane reports, die-hard fans are finding alternatives.
Here's how bad it is. There were no meetings today and no more are scheduled. Yesterday's sessions with federal mediators in New York were fruitless. Should the federal government take further action to force a settlement? The man sometimes touted as a future baseball commissioner said no today.
It's fair to say both sides are losing financially as a result of the strike, and it ought to be settled between them in their own collective bargaining. That's the proper way to do it in our system.
So the owners are still pitching a salary cap, and the players are still knocking that one out of the park. Day 3 of the strike wiped out another 14 big league games. But take heart and don't despair, sports fans. Baseball is alive and well across America. On Sandlot Farm Team fields, some pretty respectable play is in progress. In Connecticut last night, this was the New Haven Ravens versus the Trenton Thunder.
This is my first minor league game, and I'm having a great time here. And this is what baseball is all about right here.
Last year, the minor leagues drew a record 30 million fans. And with the majors on strike, that record could be exceeded by teams with names like the St. Catherine Blue Jays, the Canton Akron Indians, and the Harrisburg Senators.
The fans want to see the baseball. They're not interested in who's making the money, who's right or who's wrong. They want the baseball. That's why I'm here today.
New stadiums are sprouting up all over the country. And the game is coming back to its roots in small-town America, with franchises like the Cucamonga Quakes, the Hickory Crawdads, the Memphis Chicks, and the Chattanooga Lookouts.
We're relatively low cost, it's more family-oriented, and it's closer to home. I mean, it's 2 hours to here to any ballpark in the big leagues, and people don't want to travel and spend the money.
And remember, sports fans, if worst comes to worst, you can always come out and play ball yourself. David Culhane, CBS News, New York.
Okay, if the moon was really made out of cheese, I'd be an astronaut. Healthy Choice makes real cheese with skim milk, so it's naturally fat-free. I put it on practically everything. With Healthy Choice, I eat what I like.
Cheese. Excuse me, have you discovered covered raisins? They're not like plain raisins. They're soft, plump, and sweet.
I love them.
That's what I said. Covered raisins, only in Raisin Nut Brand.
Well, we're here with Wanda and Babs, who feel that their zipper bag is fine and will not switch to Gladlock zipper bags.
That's right. Ditto.
Now, Babbo, let's say you hold some of your famous chicken gravy upside down over Wanda's head, sealed in either your bag or the Gladlock bag with the yellow and blue make green seal, so you know the bag is closed. Your bag doesn't have a green seal.
Well, I say let's go for it with our bag. Why switch?
Because it's my head. We'll switch to Gladlock.
Good call, Wanda. When it really counts, get Gladlock.
If you're looking for the only car with the 270 horsepower North Star system that travels 100,000 miles between scheduled tune-ups and accommodates 6 adults, you'll find it at this number. $499 a month for 24 months with $2,400 down. Cadillac DeVille Concours, creating a higher standard.
They call it the 3 strikes law. You know, 3 crimes and you serve time. But this judge refuses to impose it on a convicted felon.
I don't feel that I should fall under the guidelines of the 3 strikes law. I've never committed a violent act in my life.
Is the law too harsh? The judge thinks so. See Eye on America and judge for yourself tomorrow on the CBS Evening News.
Islamic fundamentalists claimed responsibility today for a pair of ambushes in the Gaza Strip. 1 Israeli was killed and 6 injured in what were called revenge attacks. Jesse Schulman has more.
Palestinian extremists opened fire in the Gaza Strip in 2 separate drive-by attacks on Israeli vehicles. The attacks came within a few hours of each other at almost the same spot. In the first, the only injuries were from flying glass. The second was deadlier. Gunmen pumped dozens of bullets into a van. The attackers escaped into Palestinian-controlled territory despite searches by Israeli troops and Palestinian police. The Islamic fundamentalist group Hamas claimed it staged the attacks. It was revenge, they said, for the killing of 1 Hamas guerrilla and the serious wounding of another by Israeli police in Jerusalem Friday. PLO reaction to today's attacks was unprecedented. A condemnation from Nabil Shah, a senior advisor to Yasser Arafat, live on Israeli television.
We cannot but condemn all these acts of violence that violate the peace process, that violate its spirit and its letter.
Prime Minister Rabin's response to the attacks was measured, a vague warning of what he might do if they continue.
We will have to consider many activities in the future.
Rabin may not like the current level of violence, but occasional attacks like these aren't enough to shake his position or make him change course. One result, talks set for tomorrow on extending Palestinian self-rule, are to go ahead as planned. Jesse Schulman, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
This is the 25th anniversary of the large-scale deployment of British troops in Northern Ireland. They were sent in after a parade by Protestants in Londonderry sparked sectarian rioting. Cindy Kennard reports from Belfast.
It was a carnival atmosphere as Catholics staged a mock attack on a British military barracks in Derry. A few masqueraded as the enemy. One jokingly declared what for many has been a serious desire for a quarter of a century. British troops would get out of Northern Ireland.
Goodbye to the British Army!
It was here troops were first deployed 25 years ago today. Initially, they were hailed as stabilizing saviors, welcomed with tea. But with thousands of deadly clashes, shootings and bombings, the anger escalated, and so did the number of troops. Nobody ever dreamed this bloody feud would become the world's longest-running conflict. Still, the only hope for a solution is pinned on a fragile framework for peace. A proposal announced last December. If the Irish Republican Army would halt violence, all sides of the conflict would negotiate. The IRA's political wing rejected that offer. To this day, it demands an end to British rule.
We think that that is outdated, that it's wrong, that it's unfair, that it's unjust, that it's undemocratic.
Protestants are unyielding in their desire to remain part of Britain and condemn the latest attempt at peace.
They made a series of concessions to the IRA, meeting IRA demands, and the IRA naturally says, well, if violence brings us concessions, then you'll have more violence and we'll have more concessions.
Both sides marked the anniversary with violence. The IRA bombed 2 English seaside resorts. Protestant extremists murdered a Catholic father of twins. And that's why the troops will stay in Northern Ireland for now, more and more becoming a symbol of failure. A 25-year-long failure of all sides to end the bloodshed and celebrate the next anniversary with a truce. Cindy Kennard, CBS News, Belfast.
get heartburn, you take Maalox. Life is good.
And don't forget great tasting Maalox tablets, too.
I had a young couple from Sweden come into my store that was interested in buying a neon sign.
They had mailboxes, etc. We can pretty much pack and ship anything.
The first question they asked me is, how do I get it home?
It was a very fragile item.
I made an instant decision to call mailboxes, etc. my buddy Norm.
The item arrived there with no problem whatsoever.
Norm's Norm. And he's just a cool guy.
Give me a break.
Depend on mailboxes, etc. It's not what we do, it's how we do it.
Cleanse yourself with 100% soap-free and fragrance-free Alpha Hydrox. Refresh yourself with a natural Alpha Hydrox solution that can reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. Moisturize yourself with products to nurture and protect your beautiful new skin. Save yourself with amazingly effective Alpha Hydrox products under $10 each. Now you know the naked truth about skincare. The cleansers, treatments, and moisturizers of Alpha Hydrox.
A train disaster today in former Soviet Georgia has left at least 12 people dead. It happened when a passenger train rammed into a stopped freight train. Officials say bandits had stolen signaling devices. The ruling party candidate for president of Mexico held his last major rally today, with officials promising next Sunday's election will be free of fraud. Manuel Gallegos in Mexico City has our report.
For 65 years, Mexico's institutional revolutionary party, the PRI, has never lost a presidential election. But a peasant rebellion this year and the unrelated assassination of the PRI's presidential candidate have permanently changed Mexico's political climate. Many suspect the PRI held onto power through voter fraud. Now the PRI and the other parties have a new generation of leaders.
They're U.S. educated, most of them, or European educated. They've seen democracy work. They're not as afraid of democracy as the former political leaders of this country.
The government claims it is spending $1 billion to prove to the world the August 21st election will be clean. TV commercials are urging citizens to vote. 45 million voters have been issued photo ID cards, and for the first time, thousands of international observers will be allowed to watch.
The observation as a process is something entirely new in Mexican electoral law. Up to 6 months ago, observers were non-existent.
It's very important to really pass the message to the world that Mexico has a stable form of government.
Polls indicate pre-candidate Ernesto Cedillo has the lead, but more conservative candidate Diego Fernandez surged in popularity after the nation's first television debate. And leftist Cuauhtemoc Cárdenas, son of a former president, remains popular. He lost the last election after a mysterious computer failure. It is widely believed that Cárdenas was the legitimate winner of the last elections here, and his supporters, mostly working-class Mexicans, still believe that he is the only one who can topple the ruling party. But the ruling party is determined to stay in power, and many in Mexico are warning of new violence if this election doesn't live up to the government's promise of fairness. Manuel Gallegos, CBS News, Mexico City.
I can't believe this incredible sense of lightness. I feel so light that I could float away. Could it be Stefan? Or I can't believe it's not Butter Light. After all, it does have half the calories of butter, no cholesterol, and of course, great taste. It must be I can't believe it's not Butter Light. I don't know anyone named Stefan.
Taste the light fantastic. I can't believe it's not Butter Light.
Choosing a cereal with the perfect balance of taste and nutrition can be tricky, but now there's a choice that's simple. Wait till you taste this. From Healthy Choice and Kellogg. A brand new cereal that combines crunchy oat clusters, plump sweet raisins, and crispy multigrain flakes in a way that tastes so delicious. You know, you could make this choice blindfolded. Introducing Healthy Choice cereals, new from Kellogg's. One taste, and the choice is simple.
Is the gray in your mustache or beard making you look too old?
Now there's Just for Men Brush-In Color Gel, specially for the hard-to-color hair of mustaches and beards. This brush-in gel stays put to penetrate hard-to-color hair. In 5 minutes, rinse. Your mustache or beard blends with your natural hair color, and it won't fade or wash out.
Now that's a lot better.
Just for Men Color Gel, from the leader in men's hair coloring.
You may not have noticed, but chances are your morning newspaper is no longer being delivered by a child on a bicycle. Many big metropolitan dailies are switching to adult carriers. And that's tonight's Sunday Cover, why one more major newspaper is abandoning a time-honored American tradition.
That's the place singing out of lunch. Headlines don't sell papers. Newsies sell papers.
Since newspapers first hit the streets of America, kids have helped us to read all about it. The news delivery business was their business. Kids like 11-year-old Elizabeth Hartunian of Massachusetts.
I wanted to do it. It's a good job for kids because it sort of teaches them responsibility.
The last link to that past is the kid who delivered the newspaper. And he or she is going to disappear. Not just from this paper, but from a lot of big newspapers.
This newspaper is the Boston Globe. The big metropolitan daily is letting Elizabeth go, along with some 4,000 other young carriers.
You know, it's a tough decision. I mean, it's been a tradition of the Boston Globe for as long as the Boston Globe's been in existence that, you know, kids and newspapers go together.
Did go together anyway. There were roughly 500,000 child carriers in this country 20 years ago. Today, half of them have traded in their pocket change for pink slips. Why? Big city dailies like the Globe have grown heavier. Scores of afternoon papers are now morning papers, and subscribers want them on their doorsteps earlier and earlier. The perfect opening for those naturally strong, naturally nasty creatures who are always taking unfair advantage. Adults. They're horning in everywhere.
This would kind of supplement something that's steady every week.
Well, not everywhere. In Quincy, Massachusetts, just outside Boston, kids can still find an honest day's work. Jessica Bates and Matt O'Connell are among the more than 3,000 child carriers for the Quincy Patriot Ledger.
Having kid carriers is like a new job for them to start them on like their bank accounts and stuff. And I've got a couple hundred in the bank.
Matt points out you don't see any kids putting on suits trying to climb the corporate ladder.
There's not many jobs to get, and this is like one of the only ones that a kid could get.
There are 4,000 fewer for the kids in Boston, and they're not just losing jobs.
But what we're losing is poetry and history, and we've lost a lot of that, not just in this business, but all over America.
But don't try talking poetry or history to these kids, and never mind economic realities or changing demographics in the workforce. For them, it's as black and white as the newsprint itself.
Kids have always done it, and I think it should stay that way.
About 900 U.S. dailies still use child carriers, but few of them are in the big cities where the tradition got its start. That's the news. I'm Edie Magnus. I'll see you all week on CBS This Morning. Good night.
Experience CBS News.
There's no doubt about what's in Fidel Castro's health plan. Get AIDS in Cuba and you're shipped off to a sanatorium. Some call it a prison. Does it work? 60 Minutes, tonight.
This is CBS.